Dr. Fauzi. I'm going to go very quickly because they asked me to do so. So I went from the title of this workshop that was given to me, Economic Transformation in Africa, okay, and there's some gaps in research and policy. This is what I'm supposed to address. So what I assumed is that there is a positive mood when writing the general theme of the seminar, okay? Economic transformation in Africa. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to explain you what I did. What I did is to tell myself what is at the basis of economic transformation. I answered the question, it's agriculture. So what I did is go through areas that are considered as areas of concern, and then from then raise some issues that maybe need further research. So it's basically what I did. I think I can go with this one. Although, let's see, goes like that. So this is just a reminder for us to know that Africa has gone through a lot of turmoil in terms of policy making, so that even if at present there are some positive trends, but we may not forget the past. So I'm going to go very quickly over that. The early 20 years, 1960s, 80s, with state intervention and an era of what they called as, a lost, kind of area of taxation of agriculture. The 1980s and early 90s, okay, where, a structural adjustment program came about. So we just go past that. And then the late 90s, when we started introducing ideas like PRSPs, which is poverty reduction strategy policies, programs. So, and then during that, there was a problem of a lack of a view, global view on development. Fortunately, toward the beginning of this millennium, CADEP came into being. So we are now in the second decade of the year 2000, and there is, an attempt to include growth concerns in African official policies by, financed by the World Bank, etc., by changing the name of these PRSPs to something that includes growth. Okay, so this is over the 50 years. These are the kind of evolution that we have seen in African policy making. So I just want us not to remember, to forget that, but this is not my concern. My concern is that by summing up, there have been some policy shifts on about every 10 years. Okay. Frequent changes of what tends to be as priority area, meaning that we kept on changing priority areas. Fortunately, there was a sharp turn, as I said, at the beginning of this century or millennium, with the advent of a continent-wide policy framework. Okay, so from then, the lesson that I draw is that in the future, Africa has to keep in memory this period of trials and errors. And what we do, okay, let's not be very happy very soon, etc., and be cautious. So now I come to the subject, any economic transformation in Africa, we require a strong agriculture, okay? Simply because agriculture is very important in national economies. I want to stay long on that. And agricultural growth and GDP growth have gone hand in hand. And you can see just a graph that shows that. The thing in blue is in agriculture, and in red, this is GDP. So you see that the growth of GDP and the growth of agriculture have been going hand in hand. So it shows that there is a strong correlation. Okay. So anything that you need in terms of transformation, economic transformation, has to come greatly from agriculture. Now, how can the transformation in agriculture contribute to economic growth or economic transformation? Then there are some requisites. Agriculture, first of all, has to be predictable. Okay, you cannot, when you look at these year-to-year fluctuation, it's very difficult to base a strong policy, economy-wide, based on these, changing agricultural production. So it has to be stabilized somehow. Second, the gains that we've seen since about the time CADEP started or a little bit before to now, they need to be maintained. okay? And now there is a problem because, you know, we have these year-to-year fluctuations. So what are they? You know, the problem is Africa still relies on rain-fed cropping. So this also needs somehow to be changed. Governments have withdrawn from financing the agriculture sector. ODA has also dwindled down. But fortunately, lately, ODA is, well, at least there are hope that it's going up. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad. And some private sector have taken over what the government has, you know, left by financing agriculture like Agra, etc. So anyway, what I'm trying to do is go through that and then raise some research issues. There are new threats maybe, and also some issues that haven't been addressed or kept on being facing hesitation, etc. The first issue is the issue of a small farm. The issue of a small farm, what's the main actor for agricultural development in Africa? Okay, when you talk about the small farm, some people will say, okay, as we say later, is it a problem, or can we contribute as actors? That's the problem. Here, given that I don't have time, I can just cite the case of China, where agricultural transformation has depended on the small farmer, and with appropriate policies to really make the small farmer be a powerful agent. Another ongoing phenomenon, which is also a problem to consider, is climate. Okay, we cannot do much about climate, but climate change is a problem. This probably is what is causing the swings year to year. And then a new phenomenon that we haven't studied yet is this emerging land acquisition by foreigners on African soils. Okay, so I go from these and try to draw some possible areas where research may be needed. I think there is a, does it come from me? Okay. I think yeah, mine is here. So, first of all, let's see, is this the first? Yeah, that's the first. The first element, possible research, where we need, what's the recent event of land acquisition by foreigners. Some people call it land grabbing, but you know, here we just said land acquisition because I didn't want to go with the negative whatever connotation at first. Okay, so is this a positive or negative thing? Okay, what happened? It's very easy to think about that. I don't have time to go through all the points, but you know, what happens if this land acquisition thing comes to a point when the best land is used to produce goods to ship outside, and then you know, creating a serious problem in Africa in terms of food security, etc. What happens? So anyway, there are a lot of issues that are raised there. Is there any legal framework that can help Africa escape from the bad thing that can happen? Again, remember that in the past, about every 10 years, 15 years, there was a major change in policy. That's the problem. So nobody knows what will happen in the future. Okay, so you know, so there are all these issues. What are the environmental effects of land acquisition? Are these people going to come and just invest or just mine the soil, as the agronomists say, just not by investing enough in the soil, but getting the fertility out and then exporting what we call soil nutrients? Is this what is going to happen? These are issues that need to be researched, because you know, Africa may wake up one day and just find out that there's even no more land, something like that. So the second issue is the issue of a smallholder. The issue of a smallholder is very important. And one question that we may raise, is the smallholder a problem? Is it a social problem? If it's a social problem, then you have to address this problem through social safety nets and these kind of things, etc. Or is it a production agent? Okay, at least on this issue, the ECOWAS paper clearly states that the objective of ECOWAS and ECOWAS in general, something like that, is to build a strong agriculture based on the family farm. Okay, but when you talk to different governments, They don't believe in that. They, like, you know, if you take the case of Burkina, they're now favoring the so-called agribusiness type thing where land is being entitled by rich people, usually politicians, etc. And the question that I raise, are these people professional agriculturists? Or are they going to mine the soil just like whoever is going to come and take the land? So these are the issues. So can Africa afford to do away with the small orders? This is an issue that I think interesting. The last issue, in order to stabilize production, is the issue of technology, innovations, and anything that comes around that line. So, for example, in terms of technology, okay, we know technology has a positive effect. We've done the study at the farmer level. We've done the study maybe at a village level. But whoever has compared a special impact of technology by comparing different African states, governments, whatever countries, etc. So studies can be done in that, like by saying what kind of technology can really be profitable, you know, Africa-wide, etc., and or innovation, you know, by comparing different countries, you know, or bringing different countries into the study rather than having these farm-level studies, what we used to have. Okay? Second, like irrigation, that's another technology. What would be the impact of a large-scale irrigation? Okay? There are all these issues. We keep on saying that there are only 4% of African land or less that's irrigated. What if we start doing that? What are the issues regarding, you know, like water rights and this kind of thing, problem between countries, etc.? And what is the role of agro-processing? Because, you know, this is we say we want agriculture to be an engine of growth. One way of doing that is to improve agro-processing. So what can we do in that? Okay? What are the factors of hindrance to the development of agro-processing? One factor could be like all these importation of cheap food, processed food, etc. What are the impacts of international trade? This is what I said. Arrangement in the success of agro-processing. So, Mr. Chairman, this is the kind of issue that I want to raise based on what I understood from economic transformation in Africa and linking it to agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Savadogo. You've opened up a pretty large we have some room now for discussion. So we have just in fact time for one round, so let's see who wants to go. Please keep your interventions short and let's add value to what was already presented. So who wants to have a go? We could go for coffee.
Yeah, that's why everybody's sleeping. It's like, what's your last session is like, what you get to?
Yes. Microphone, please.
Merci, Savadogo.
Thank you, Savadogo, for having aroused the discussions without being, or far from me the idea of being provocative, using the periods that you mentioned and almost all the paradigms that were raised from independence time until now. I have a concern. It is uncompleted reforms. From 1960 until now, can you say that we have undertaken reforms, we completed them, and we measured the impacts and we changed them? It is an uncompleted reform that starts with another reform. Now, the full effects of transformation will be a problem due to crossing of uncompleted reforms. For instance, the issues that you are raising, they are real issues, but what actually triggers them? Do we have a liberal regime, a Greek liberal, a Greek regime? Yes or no? The land problem should no longer be a problem. The question is what should be done. It shouldn't be a problem because adjustments were blocked somewhere along the line. Today, CADAP in its reflection posed the problem by freeing, liberalizing the markets. The reality with regard to the regional trade proves to us that this is not a fact, this is not a reality, so we cannot go further. Today, I am saying that the main problem that we have is human capacities, viable, solid institutions that are consequences of all this. Today is high time that we stopped and said that compared to our human and institutional capacities, what actually can we achieve in a real way to say.
Thank you very much. My name is Douglas Steinberg. I'm with Helen Keller International, based in Dakar. And thank you very much, Dr. Savadogo, for all of these research questions. They're all very fascinating and important. And I think it's interesting to perhaps try and understand another aspect of the challenge. Dr. Joyner sort of passed over it very briefly, but he mentioned how little of the new research is actually being generated by African institutions. A lot of it's driven from external institutions. And Helen Keller and partners have looked at the amount of research and capacity development that's going on in the area of nutrition and found that it's greatly insufficient to meet the needs of the future. The amount of people who are being trained to assume the positions are inadequate, from the boots on the ground to the policymakers. And the amount of locally driven research is very insignificant compared to the number of questions that are out there. So my comment is to all of us, and particularly to the donors who are in the room, the colleagues from European Union and elsewhere, is to invest in capacity development. It's not as sexy as as innovation and technology and seed development, things like that. But if we aren't developing the people and the knowledge locally, it's never going to move forward.
Thank you very much. Yes, Maggie, and then.
Thank you. I would like to add one more possibility to the knowledge gaps, and that's study success. I'm not sure there's enough studying of what actually works. There are instances in Africa where small-scale food producers have been put together with the school feeding needs of children. There are instances where there have been nutritional gains through very specific projects. There are instances where access to market has been effected and has proved sustainable. There are many instances of success, and I think that rather than constant analysis, I would share the view that we should be looking at what could be done with the resources that are available. And that would include eventually capacity building. But if we start with the successes that are possible and understand them better and why they worked and what it took to get them going, maybe we could simply move towards the action phase that many people have stated is desperately needed. So study success.
I'll take one more question over there, and then we'll come back to Dr. Savadogo.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. I started my studies in development economy telling myself that there are problems of data in Africa. I finished my study and there are still data problems in Africa. For 10 years I've been working here. It has been said during workshops, we say there are problems with regard to data, and this is eternal recurrence of this issue. We have our models, we have some data that we process. What is the problem? It's a problem of sharing, the problem of dialogue among stakeholders. And my question is, have you reflected over on the agric model that we want to develop? Because if you get the consensus, then we can find common framework, analysis framework of data collections framework, as well as data sharing framework. Now, training this morning has been raised. I was uncomfortable when a researcher is called upon to conduct a study on request, because this actually poses a problem, because it does not actually push me. It does not actually push me to anticipate. So we have to think about the role of research in our continents. These are questions that, and this morning somebody told us, you don't have to panic. I said, fine, I'm not going to panic, fine. But at the end of the day, I think I'm a bit scared, you know. Thank you for those questions. I think there is overlapping among the questions, and when you are listening to the questions, we realize that the issues that I raised are real problems, because in the answers we have two types of answers. People say that they have sufficient data, they don't need data, whereas the others are saying what are the appropriate model. But to agree on such a model, you have to conduct a research. So this is complicated. We don't know where exactly that we're going to say that in Africa a lot of research were made, so we have to apply them. This is difficult to say because it's not obvious. Just look at the role of agriculture, the way the small producer is being treated. This small holder, is he going to be the growth engine? You know, some people are saying it's agribusiness, we need larger firms. Well, especially with civil servants who over the night they become farmers, whereas they don't have any knowledge. Are they going to push agriculture? So somebody has to decide, as China did it by investing in the smallholders. Africa has to go straight in and small holding farming. Even if you have 1 hectare or 2 hectares, it should be done. Until now, no agreement is found. So we can say absolutely the sphere of research is closed, that we have a lot. Yes, and that, yes, I agree that there are a lot of changes, especially structural adjustment programs. Yes. I want to draw your attention on the fact that during the past 50 years, Africa went through 4 or 5 paradigms of development, and we are still at that particular level. So this poses a problem. Otherwise, if you are registering a progress, we don't have to say that very quickly that it's a sustainable thing. Maybe it's something which is going to be reverted in 5 years with our development paradigms. So we have to be aware of that.
Alors, L'Afrique, effectivement, venant de Helen Keller, dit que
the person from Ellen Keller said there are very few researches conducted in Africa by non-Africans. This is a problem. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying, well, no comments on that, but this is a problem. Success study is very important to answer the lady. It helps us to be optimistic.